The Maldives is often described as a country drowning in slow motion. That's true, but it's not the whole story. The reefs around these islands are the reason the islands exist at all. They break the waves, make the sand, and build the land. Then the country began removing them. What followed was a chain reaction. Mined reefs, exposed coastlines, emergency seawalls, and now giant artificial islands dredged out of the same reef the country depends on. This is the story of a place trying to save itself by dismantling part of what was already saving it. To understand what the Maldives did to itself, you have to understand what a Maldivian island is. Stand on one, and you are not standing on rock. You are standing on the crushed skeletons of a living thing, piled up over thousands of years. Every island here sits on a coral reef, and the reef built the ground beneath it. Coral grows toward the light and breaks the open ocean swell along its crest, taking the force of the sea so the land behind it never has to. A healthy reef absorbs about 97% of a wave's energy before it reaches shore. In a country where the land sits barely a meter above the water, that is the line between an ordinary morning and a flood. And the reef holds that line for free. Then it does something stranger. It makes the island bigger. The same reef that breaks the waves is constantly shedding sand. And in the Maldives, studies trace as much as 85% of that sand to parrotfish, biting off chunks of coral and excreting them as fine white sand. The country is, more or less, built out of a reef that passed through a fish. So the reef was two machines in one, a seawall and a sand factory, running for thousands of years, sending no bill and asking for nothing. The only catch was that it did all this underwater, which made it easy to look at and see the empty seabed. Space, raw material, something in the way of a growing city. And that is exactly how the Maldives began to see it. By the 1970s, the capital, Malé, was running out of room and filling up with people. It needed stone, and the cheapest stone in the country was sitting just offshore, alive. Coral was soft enough to cut and haul, hard enough to build with. So crews walked onto the reef flats at low tide, broke coral loose, and carried it back to build the capital, and later the resorts the tourist economy ran on. It was a fast answer to a real shortage, but it was also the beginning of a deeper loss. The scale climbed fast. In North Malé Atoll, demand for coral aggregate was estimated at 500,000 cubic feet a year by the mid-1980s, and the reefs around the capital were being depleted far faster than they could recover. The thing being torn up for construction and the thing standing between the city and the ocean were the same, and only one of those jobs ever showed up on a balance sheet, so the barrier was weakened before anyone in power fully treated it as a barrier. Reef flats and crests that had broken swell for centuries were being mined down, and the water they used to disrupt now had a clearer run at land barely above the tide. The cost was already there, it just had not arrived in a form the state could not ignore. Then it did. In April 1987, the bill arrived. Long-period storm swell crossed the atoll and pushed into Malé, flooding about a third of the capital. Breakwaters, retaining walls, roads, airport facilities, and houses were damaged, and the cost of restoring normal conditions was estimated at $6 million. The damage concentrated on a city sitting only a meter or so above sea level. There was no cyclone making landfall that day. This was swell doing what swell does, except the reef that used to break it had already been mined apart. The protection had been sold for parts, and the ocean came to collect. For any government, that is the moment abstraction ends. Salt water in the streets of the capital on an ordinary weather day. After 1987, the country began treating coastal defense as a national engineering problem. And the response that followed was not cosmetic. It worked, but it also set the logic for everything that came after. The country reached for concrete, it fixed the flooding and started the next problem. Japan paid for the answer. Over roughly 15 years, breakwaters and seawalls were built around Malé until the island was protected by about 6 kilometers of coastal defense. It is one of the clearest engineering successes in this story. When the Indian Ocean tsunami struck in 2004, Malé was flooded, but the seawall helped spare the capital from the catastrophic destruction seen elsewhere, with no reported fatalities or injuries in the city itself. But look at the trade. Research comparing coastal defenses found median costs near $19,791 per meter for artificial breakwaters and about $1,290 per meter for reef restoration. The country had been handed a functioning barrier for free over thousands of years, tore much of it out for cheap stone, and then had to buy back part of the same protection by the meter. And even then, concrete only does one of the reef's jobs. A wall can hold a line. It cannot build new land. It does not grow, it does not heal, and it does not keep making sand. So the country had replaced a living system that protected the coast and helped create the coast with a dead structure that only does the first. That solved one emergency. It also exposed the second job as the next emergency. The next fix would be to build a new land. With Malé walled in and packed beyond its limit, the country needed somewhere to put people. So it went back to the reef to bury it under a new island. At Malé, dredgers pumped sand from the seabed onto a shallow reef platform and created raised ground meant to sit around 2 meters above sea level, roughly twice the height of Old Malé. Today it has grown into a major urban extension of the capital region. It is a real achievement. The island sits higher, expands housing capacity, and gives the state a way to concentrate people and services on ground designed for a different future. But the method carries the same contradiction the country has never escaped. To make that land, sand has to be dredged and pumped over reef, and the reef underneath is buried or stressed under sediment plumes that cut light and choke coral. So the survival strategy works, but it works by consuming the reef it is trying to replace. Every hectare of raised ground is paid for by damaging part of the one structure that builds ground and breaks waves on its own. And the country was about to scale that logic up again, to its largest form yet. The engineering deserves its due. Malé showed that the Maldives can build safe, raised urban land in open ocean conditions and make it habitable. For a country with almost no elevation to spare, that is a serious accomplishment. But the question is what it depends on. Ras Malé is where that question gets much harder to avoid. On December 18, 2023, President Mohamed Muizzu launched Ras Malé at Fushi de Gara Lagoon, the biggest land reclamation project in Maldivian history. The plan calls for about 1,150 to 1,153 hectares of new land and roughly 65,000 homes. Within months, part of the new ground had eroded and the project stalled. In May 2024, the country's own environmental agency ordered the dredging halted to spare the reefs from more damage during a coral bleaching event. The state had put the harm in writing, then it resumed. By late 2025, the dredging was back in full swing. Go back to where this started. A reef that stopped 97% of a wave and helped build land for free is now being cut, dredged, and pumped to manufacture, by force and at enormous cost, the higher ground it once built on its own. And once that trade becomes permanent, the rest of the coastline begins to look different too. And it does not simply stop. Each fix makes the next fix more necessary. The wall became necessary after the natural barrier had been weakened. The new islands require dredging and burial of more reef to exist at all. Each layer of engineered safety removes more of the natural system, which makes the next layer of engineered safety more necessary. It is a ratchet with no reverse. The country cannot unmine the old reefs, cannot unpour the wall, cannot lift back the reef the dredgers have already buried. It can only keep moving in the direction the sequence points. That trade is not unique to the Maldives. Clear the mangroves, then build the wall they used to be, flatten the dunes, then armor the beach behind them, drain the wetland, then pump the water it once held. The same pattern shows up again and again. A living defense traded for a visible engineered replacement until the living system is gone and its full value becomes impossible to ignore. So the next time you hear that a coastline is being protected, watch what had to be removed to make that protection necessary. Often enough, the thing cleared away was already doing the work, quietly, for free, the whole time. If this resonates with you, the like button tells the channel to keep making investigations like this. Comment below and tell us what you would like to see next. And if you want the same pattern at a different scale, 2 videos are on screen now. Dubai built artificial islands in open water and discovered the sea does not forget what it used to do. 3 gorges solved one monumental problem and quietly created consequences far from the dam itself. Same ambition, same hidden accounting. Subscribe and stay with us.